The siren wailed like a banshee through the rain-slicked streets of Seattle, cutting through the downpour that turned the city into a blurred watercolor of neon and shadow. Alex Rivera gripped the steering wheel of the ambulance, his knuckles white, heart slamming against his ribs as dispatch crackled with the urgency of a multiple stabbing. Victim down, possible domestic, get there now. He didn't know it yet, but in the next 90 seconds, his life would shatter like glass under a boot heel, accused of the one sin no paramedic could forgive, letting a man die when he could have saved him. By the time Alex and his partner, Jamie, burst through the splintered door of the rundown apartment in Capitol Hill, the air reeked of copper and fear. The victim, a wiry guy in his 40s named Marcus Hale, lay crumpled on the kitchen floor amid shattered plates and smeared blood, his breaths coming in wet, ragged gasps. Alex dropped to his knees, gloved hands flying, checking pulse, airway, the works, while Jamie radioed for backup. "Hang on, buddy," Alex murmured, his voice steady despite the chaos, pressing gauze to the deepest wound in Marcus's side. But Marcus's eyes, wild and locking onto Alex's like a lifeline, flickered with something more than pain, recognition, or maybe desperation. You're like me," Marcus rasped, blood bubbling at his lips. "Don't let him. He did this. Said I deserved it for loving wrong." Alex's stomach twisted. Another queer man, another hate-fueled nightmare in a city that prided itself on rainbows but still bled red. He worked faster, for line in, vitals crashing, but the blood kept coming, a river he couldn't dam. The apartment was a tomb of faded pride flags and half-empty beer cans, the kind of place where secrets festered under thin walls. Marcus's partner, Derek, hovered in the corner, a hulking figure with tattooed arms and eyes like storm clouds, yelling at Jamie to back off his property. He fell, okay? Drunk idiot slipped on the damn floor. But Alex caught the lie in the way Derek's fists clenched, the fresh bruises on his own knuckles that didn't match a slip. Marcus grabbed Alex's wrist with surprising strength, pulling him close. "Tell them. The ring. He took it. My grandmother's. Proof." His voice faded to a whisper, eyes glazing over as the monitor flatlined. Alex pounded on his chest, willing life back, but it was gone. Marcus Hale, dead at 38, another statistic in the hidden wars of the heart. Word spread through the department like wildfire on dry tinder. By shift's end, whispers followed Alex into the locker room. Rivera's fault. Froze up. Too busy playing hero to the fag. It started with a complaint from Derek, who swore Alex had delayed care, distracted by his own agenda. Code for the rainbow pin on Alex's uniform that he'd worn since coming out at 22. The chief, a grizzled vet named Harlan with a mustache like steel wool and eyes that narrowed at anything non-traditional, called Alex in at dawn the next day. "You let that man die, Rivera? Negligence. And now the family's screaming cover-up because of your lifestyle." Alex's blood ran cold. Lifestyle? He'd poured his soul into that call, but Harlan's gaze lingered on the photo taped inside Alex's locker door, him and his boyfriend, Nate, laughing at Pride last summer. Prejudices didn't die easy in the Seattle Fire Department, not when half the old guard still grumbled about the agenda. Nate found him later that afternoon, slumped on the worn couch of their tiny Queen Inn apartment, staring at the Puget Sound through rain-streaked windows. Nate Keller, with his messy blonde curls and surgeon's hands that could stitch a wound or trace a lover's spine with equal grace, slid beside him, pulling Alex into a hug that smelled of antiseptic and home. "Talk to me," Nate said softly, his voice a bomb against the storm raging inside Alex. They'd met 3 years ago in the ER. Alex wheeling in a car crash victim, Nate barking orders like a general, and fallen hard, fast, in the quiet moments after the chaos. But love in the queer community wasn't a fairy tale. It was a battlefield, scarred by exes who weaponized closets and families who prayed for cures. Nate's own came from a liberal bubble that shattered when he came out at 16, leaving him with a trust fund and trust issues in equal measure. "They're gunning for you because you're out and proud," Nate said, fingers threading through Alex's dark hair. "Derek spinning it. Says you ignored protocol too. I don't know, proselytize or some bullshit." Alex pulled back, eyes burning. "I tried everything, Nate." He looked at me like he knew I got it. The hiding, the hurt. And his last words, about a ring, proof Derek did it. Nate's brow furrowed, the doctor in him kicking in. Proof of what? Murder. Alex nodded, the weight of it crushing. Marcus hadn't just died. He died begging for justice, and Alex was the only one who'd heard the plea. But accusing a victim's partner without evidence? That was career suicide, especially when the department was already circling like vultures. We fight this, Nate said fiercely, cupping Alex's face. Together, like always. Their kiss was desperate, a spark in the dark, but as Nate pulled away to start dinner, Alex's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You think you can ruin me? Watch your back, hero. The accusation snowballed overnight. Local news picked it up, a puff piece turning toxic. Gay paramedic under fire for fatal delay in domestic call. Protests erupted outside the station, picket signs from fringe groups screaming, "No gays in uniforms," countered by rainbow-clad allies chanting for justice. Alex's face was everywhere, pixelated but unmistakable, the rainbow pin a bullseye. Friends from the community rallied. Lena, the fierce lesbian barista who'd patched him up after a bar fight in college. Theo, the trans activist with a laugh like thunder who'd officiated their unofficial commitment ceremony in a backyard full of wildflowers. But the isolation crept in, whispers from colleagues turning to outright shunning. Jamie, his straight-as-an-arrow partner of 5 years, cornered him in the garage. I got your back, man, but Harlan's pushing an internal review. They found irregularities in your report, the timing, the foreplacement. Says you hesitated. Hesitated. Alex exploded, voice echoing off concrete. I was elbow deep in his guts trying to save him. Jamie winced, rubbing his neck. I know, but Derek's got a lawyer, and he's painting you as biased. Said Marcus told him you made a pass, or some crap. The lie hit like a gut punch. Alex had barely spoken 10 words to the man beyond medical jargon. That night, alone while Nate pulled a double shift, Alex dug into Marcus's life online. A ghost profile on a queer dating app, last login 2 weeks ago, bio reading seeking safe harbor after storms. No family listed, just a string of check-ins at dive bars in the hill. But one photo caught his eye. Marcus at a fundraiser, arm around Derek, both smiling under string lights. Derek's grin didn't reach his eyes. Sleep evaded him, chased by nightmares of flatlines and accusing stares. Dawn broke gray and relentless, and Alex dragged himself to the station for the review hearing. A kangaroo court in a conference room smelling of stale coffee and resentment. Harlan presided, flanked by suits from legal, while Derek sat across the table, smug in a too-tight polo that strained over his beer gut. Mr. Rivera, the lead investigator, droned. A woman named Carla with a clipboard and zero warmth. Witnesses, meaning Mr. Hale's partner, claim you delayed critical intervention by engaging in personal conversation. Derek leaned forward, voice dripping venom. He was whispering sweet nothings while my mark bled out. Probably thought they had a connection or whatever you people do. The room tensed, eyes on Alex like lasers. He wanted to lunge across the table, but Nate's words echoed, fight smart. Instead, Alex slid a USB drive across the polished wood. Body cam footage, every second documented. And audio, Marcus's last words, clear as day. Gasps rippled as Carla plugged it in, the grainy video flickering to life. Alex's hands blurring in motion, Marcus's gasp, then the whisper, the ring. He took it. Proof. Derek's face drained of color, but he recovered with a sneer. Fabrication. Mark was delirious, high on pain meds. But the panel murmured, doubt cracking the facade. Harlan adjourned for deliberation, his mustache twitching like a live wire. Outside, rain lashed the windows, mirroring the turmoil in Alex's chest. Nate waited in the hall, takeout bag in hand. Pho from their favorite spot, a peace offering after 2 many missed meals. You were brilliant, he said, pulling Alex into the stairwell for a stolen moment, foreheads touching. Proud of you. But pride was a fragile shield. That evening, as they ate cross-legged on the floor, Nate's idea, to ground us, the TV blared an update. Derek Hale arrested on suspicion of murder, evidence mounting from a pawn shop tip-off about a stolen heirloom ring etched with Marcus's initials. The hook had sunk deep, the real killer unmasked by a dying man's truth. Yet victory tasted like ash. Alex's phone lit up with voicemails, reporters, well-wishers, and one from his estranged sister back in Texas. Saw the news. Mom's praying for you. Call her. The old wound reopened. Coming out had fractured his family, leaving him adrift until Nate's steady hand pulled him ashore. Not tonight, Alex muttered, deleting it. Nate didn't push, just laced their fingers, the quiet intimacy speaking volumes. Weeks blurred into a haze of depositions and therapy sessions, mandatory after the trauma. Lena dragged him to a support group at the center, a circle of faces marked by loss, survivors of bashings, partners of the lost. There, Alex met Riley, a non-binary artist with ink-stained fingers and a story that mirrored his own, betrayed by a lover who couldn't handle the complications of visibility. We carry the weight, Riley said, sketching absently on a napkin. But we don't have to carry it alone. The words lingered, a seed in fertile soil. Nate noticed the shift, the way Alex laughed easier at Riley's dry wit during coffee runs. Jealousy flickered in his eyes once, over a shared glance that lasted a beat too long. But he swallowed it, remembering his own flirtations with a nurse last year that Alex had forgiven without a scar. The real twist came at the trial, 6 months later under a relentless summer sun that turned Seattle into a steam bath. Derek's defense painted him as a grieving everyman, trapped in a volatile relationship with a man who hid his addictions. But the prosecution called Alex as a witness, and under oath, he recounted not just the call, but the echo of Marcus's eyes that saw a kindred spirit in a uniform, unafraid. He trusted me because I was out there, living it, Alex said, voice steady. The courtroom hushed. And in his last breath, he trusted me to tell the truth. The jury, a mix of skeptics and allies, deliberated for hours, but when the verdict dropped, guilty, first degree, cheers erupted from the gallery, rainbow flags waving like battle standards. Outside, Nate enveloped him in a hug that crushed the air from his lungs, tears mixing with sweat. You did it. For Marcus. For us. But as confetti rained from impromptu celebrations, Alex's gaze caught on a figure across the street. Harlan, retired now, nodding once before melting into the crowd. Redemption, partial and prickly. That night, they walked the waterfront, hands clasped against the chill off the water, talking futures. Adoption maybe, or fostering kids like the ones Alex had seen in group, adrift after rejection. No more hiding, Nate said, stopping under the Ferris wheel's glow. From anyone. Alex kissed him then, slow and sure, the city lights blurring into promise. Yet shadows lingered. A letter arrived weeks later, forwarded from the station. Marcus's will, leaving a modest sum to the paramedic who heard me. Attached, a note in spidery script. Thank you for being the light I couldn't find. Live loud. Alex framed it beside their photo, a talisman. And when the department finally cleared his name, full exoneration, promotion to supervisor, he turned it down, opting instead for community training. Queer first responders, bridging gaps in a world still fractured. Nate beamed from the audience at his first class, pride swelling like the tide. In the end, it wasn't just about surviving the accusation. It was about the loves that endured, the fierce loyalty of friends, the quiet strength of a partner, the ghost of a stranger who chose truth over silence. Seattle's rains would fall again, washing streets clean, but Alex Rivera walked taller, scars woven into armor, ready for whatever storm came next. The promotion might have been a door cracked open, but Alex stepped through it sideways, warily, like testing thin ice over black water. His new role, community liaison for LGBTQ+ response training, meant classrooms instead of crash scenes, but the ghost followed. Late nights, he'd jolt awake, Marcus's whisper replaying on loop, don't let him. Nate took to leaving notes on the fridge, scribbled reassurances, you're my hero, not Harlan's scapegoat. But even those couldn't erase the doubt gnawing at Alex's edges. Was he really healed, or just better at the mask? Their relationship, once a refuge, started showing hairline fractures under the strain. Nate's shifts at Harborview stretched longer, the ER a meat grinder of gunshot wounds and overdoses, leaving him hollow-eyed and short-tempered. It's not you, he'd snap after a missed anniversary dinner, then backtrack with apologies and take-out tie, but the apologies piled up like unpaid bills. Alex understood, The job devoured souls, but understanding didn't fill the empty side of the bed. Enter Riley, the artist from group, whose texts evolved from check-ins to invitations. Coffee at the Elliott Bay Book Company. Sketches of Alex's hands that captured the calluses from years of compressions. You're a study in resilience, Riley said one afternoon, charcoal smudging their fingers as they pored over a draft of a mural for the center. Paramedics in vibrant hues, hands outstretched to shadowed figures. Alex flushed, the compliment landing like sunlight after months of overcast. Nate noticed, of course. He was a surgeon, trained to spot anomalies. Over dinner one night, grilled salmon from Pike Place. Because effort mattered, he broached it casually, slicing through the tension like a scalpel. Riley seems intense. Good intense. Alex paused, fork midway to mouth, the fish flaking under tines. Just friends, helping with the program visuals. Nate nodded too quickly, eyes on his plate. Cool. Just. We've been through hell. Don't want echoes. The unspoken hung heavy. Nate's ex, Jordan, the charming toxic one who'd cheated with half the med school, leaving Nate shattered and swearing off, intense forever. Alex reached across, squeezing his hand. Echoes are what we make them. This is us, solid. They made love that night, tentative at first, then urgent, reaffirming boundaries in whispers and touches. But seeds of misunderstanding took root in silence. Meanwhile, the department simmered with its own undercurrents. Jamie, promoted in Alex's stead, pulled him aside during a joint training sim. Mangled dummy on the floor, actors screaming for authenticity. Harlan's not done stirring shit, Jamie muttered, adjusting the four-prop. Heard him at the VFW, griping about woke hires ruining the brotherhood. Alex's jaw tightened. Harlan's retirement hadn't dulled his barbs, now aimed from the sidelines. Let him grumble. We're building something better. Jamie clapped his shoulder, the straight man's solidarity a rare gift in a house divided. But later, scanning the room, Alex spotted a new face. Recruit Tobin, broad-shouldered and baby-faced, with a gaze that lingered a beat too long. Flirtation? Curiosity? In the hypervigilant post-trial world, Alex filed it away, focusing on the lesson, de-escalating domestic calls, spotting the signs of abuse hidden behind closed doors. The first real crack came during an outreach event at the Pride Center, rain pattering on the awning like impatient fingers. Alex was demoing tourniquets to a group of teens, kids with fresh piercings and wary eyes, sharing stories of family rejection over cookies and cocoa. Riley arrived late, bearing canvases splashed with defiant colors, and the room lit up. This one's for you, Riley said, unveiling a portrait of Alex mid-rescue. Uniform aglow, Marcus's hand extended in ethereal reach. Gasps, applause. Alex's throat closed, emotion surging like a rogue wave. Nate, who'd promised to swing by, texted last minute. ER explosion. Love you. Rain check. Deflated, Alex pasted on a smile, but Riley saw through it, pulling him aside. He's missing the magic moments. You deserve witnesses. The words stung true, a mirror to Alex's unspoken fears. That night, the argument erupted over nothing. A misplaced keychain from their first date. Nate accusing Alex of always losing things that matter. It escalated, voices bouncing off kitchen cabinets. You're never here. Alex shouted, the dam breaking. I'm fighting for us, for the community, and you're buried in charts. Nate recoiled, face paling. I'm saving lives too, Alex. Not all heroes wear badges. The door slammed behind him, Nate storming to the couch, leaving Alex adrift in the bedroom, chest heaving. Dawn brought regret, coffee and croissants as olive branches, but the rift lingered, a fault line waiting for pressure. Enter the unexpected ally. Lena, ever the bulldog, cornered Nate at the hospital cafe during her volunteer shift. Fix it, pretty boy, she growled over lattes, her tattooed arms crossed. Alex's glass now, beautiful, but breakable. And Riley? Harmless crush, but crushes fester without attention. Nate blinked, caught off guard. You think I'm blind? Lena snorted. Blinder than a bat in a blackout. Love's not passive, it's a damn bonfire. Stoke it or watch it die. Her words haunted him through a 12-hour shift, surgeries blending into one endless suture. By midnight, he was home, Nate-style apology in tow, a playlist of their songs, dinner simmering, Alex's favorite, chicken adobo from a recipe his abuela smuggled north. I see you, Nate said simply, pulling him close. All of you. Let's rebuild. But fate, that cruel puppeteer, had other strings. A call came through the next week. Not Alex's anymore, but Jamie's, relaying details over beers at the alibi room. Another domestic, queer couple in Belltown, one stabbed, the survivor catatonic. Sounds familiar, Jamie said, nursing a stout. You want to ride along? Unofficial. Alex hesitated, protocol be damned, then nodded. The scene was an echo. Upscale loft, blood on marble. The survivor, a trans woman named Kai, whispering to paramedics about the ring he always twisted when mad. Alex's blood chilled. Derek's shadow loomed. Rumors of prison connections filtering through. Was this revenge or coincidence? Kneeling beside Kai, Alex coaxed her story, voice low. You're safe now. Tell me what you need. Tears carved tracks through her makeup. Belief. He said no one would, because of who we are. The words mirrored Marcus's, a refrain in the chorus of Hidden Hurts. As they loaded her into the rig, Alex's phone buzzed. Unknown again, not over. Your kind always pays. Panic spiked, but he shoved it down, focusing on Kai's vitals. Back at base, he reported it to Harlan's successor, a younger chief named Reyes, who actually listened. We'll investigate, she promised, but her eyes held the weariness of a system strained. Nate met him at the ER doors, concern etching lines around his mouth. Heard about the call. You okay? Alex leaned into him, the embrace grounding. Getting there. But it's like Marcus is looping, warning me. They drove home in silence, hands linked over the gearshift, the city lights streaking like shooting stars. Inside, Riley's portrait hung on the wall, a sentinel. We invite them over, Nate suggested suddenly. Riley, Lena, Theo, a real night. No work, no ghosts. Alex smiled, the idea blooming. Love wasn't solitary. It was a tapestry, threads weaving through friends and found family. The dinner was chaos in the best way. Theo's booming laughs over vegan tacos, Lena's stories of bar brawls won with wit, Riley's quick sketches capturing the joy. Nate watched Alex light up, envy yielding to gratitude. Later, as plates cleared, Riley raised a glass. To survivors, who turned pain into power. Clinks echoed, a pact sealed. But as the night wound down, a knock shattered the warmth. Uniformed officers, badges glinting. Mr. Rivera? We need you to come in. New evidence in the Hale case. Derek's talking. Says you knew more than you let on. The room froze, eyes on Alex like spotlights. Nate's hand found his under the table, squeezing. What evidence? Alex demanded, voice steel. The lead cop, a no-nonsense woman with a ponytail, met his gaze. A recording. From Marcus's phone. Implicates you in. Something. The words landed like a sucker punch. Implicate? He'd been the whistleblower, the one who'd risked it all. As they cuffed him. Precaution, they said, but the click echoed like judgment. Nate surged forward. This is bullshit. Call my firm. But Alex held his gaze, calm amid the storm. It's a lie. Trust me. The precinct smelled of burnt coffee and despair. Interrogation room, a box of fluorescent buzz and mirrored glass. Reyes paced outside, face thunderous, while a detective named Voss, sharp suit, sharper tongue, leaned across the table. Derek claims you and Marcus had history. Met at a club, beef over a lover. Says that's why you let him die? To settle a score. Alex laughed, bitter and broken. History? I met him bleeding out. Check the cams, the logs, I'm clean. Voss slid a tablet over, audio playing, Marcus's voice, distorted but unmistakable. Alex, don't trust. The one with the eyes. The snippet cut off, context mangled. Alex's heart plummeted. Edited. A setup. Hours ticked by. Nate's lawyer, a bulldog named Marisol from the community legal aid, busting in like a hurricane. False arrest. Release him now, or we sue for every rainbow in your budget. Voss blanched, but Reyes overruled, uncuffing Alex with apologies that rang hollow. Outside, Nate crushed him in a hug, Riley and Lena waiting in the lot like sentinels. Framed, Alex whispered, the word tasting like bile. Derek wasn't done. From behind bars, he'd weaponized lies, preying on old prejudices to drag Alex down. The fallout rippled. Media frenzy reignited, headlines twisting. EMT cleared, but new claims surface. Protests swelled, both sides digging trenches. Alex holed up, Nate's shifts becoming shields of normalcy. But the strain showed, arguments over small things, silences stretching long. One night, after a particularly brutal shift where Nate lost a patient, he snapped. "You're pulling away, Alex. Into Riley's orbit, into the fight. Where do I fit?" Alex reeled, hurt flaring. "You're my everything. But this, it's consuming me." The door closed softly that time. Nate to the guest room, leaving Alex with the ghosts. Redemption came from an unlikely thread. Kai, the survivor from Belltown, reached out through the center. Over herbal tea in her sunlit loft, scar still pink across her collarbone, she shared her story. "Derek's crew cornered me. Said it was payback for you snitching." Proof tumbled out. Texts, timestamps linking to prison lines. Armed with it, Marisol filed motions, and suddenly, Derek's web unraveled. Accomplices flipping, the recording exposed as doctored. The charges against Alex? Dropped with prejudice, a formal apology from the department. Harlan even showed up at their door one rainy evening, hat in hand. "I was wrong," he grunted, voice gravel. "About you. About a lot." Alex didn't hug him, but he listened, the old man's confession a bridge over chasms. "World's changing. Took me too long." Nate watched from the kitchen, smirking. Progress. With the storm past, Alex and Nate rebuilt deliberately. Date nights at the Space Needle, volunteering at youth centers, even a weekend getaway to the Olympics. Hiking trails where cell service died and only birdsong remained. Riley became the friend, not the threat, collaborating on a gallery show, Hearts Unbroken, that drew crowds and catharsis. Theo officiated for real this time. A quiet ceremony on a ferry at dusk, rings exchanged under stars. Marcus's legacy lived in the programs Alex spearheaded, trainings that saved lives before knives fell. And in quiet moments, Alex would touch the framed note, whispering thanks. Love, it turned out, wasn't the absence of conflict but the choice to wade through it, hand in hand, emerging scarred but shining. The gallery opening buzzed like a hive under harvest moon, the air thick with wine fumes and whispered admirations. Alex stood beside Riley's centerpiece, a triptych of Marcus's imagined life, strokes of crimson and gold weaving pain into triumph. Nate's arm a warm anchor at his waist. "It's beautiful," Nate murmured, lips brushing Alex's ear, sending shivers despite the crowd's heat. Theo circulated like a maestro, herding donors with charm, while Lena manned the bar, pouring shots with commentary sharp as gin. "To the queers who queer the narrative," she toasted, glasses clinking in a chorus that drowned out the distant hum of traffic. But beneath the revelry, tension simmered. A reviewer from The Stranger lingered too long, notebook in hand, probing Alex about the personal inspiration behind the Hail series. "It's raw, almost voyeuristic. How much is catharsis, how much exploitation?" The question landed like a barb, dredging up the trial's mudslinging. Alex stiffened, but Nate squeezed his side. "Breathe," and he replied evenly. "It's honoring a voice silenced too soon. No exploitation in truth." The reviewer nodded, scribbling, but her eyes held skepticism, the kind that fueled think pieces on trauma porn. As she drifted away, Alex exhaled, the weight lifting incrementally. Later, under strings of Edison bulbs, Nate pulled him to a quiet corner, the murals glow casting their faces in heroic light. "You're glowing tonight," Nate said, fingers tracing Alex's jaw. "Proud doesn't cover it." The kiss that followed was soft, unhurried, a reaffirmation amid the whirl. But as they parted, a shadow detached from the wall. Tobin, the recruit, out of uniform in a button-down that hugged his frame, beer in hand. "Hey, boss. Killer show." His smile was easy, but his eyes flicked to Nate, then back, a triangle unspoken. Alex introduced them, politeness masking the undercurrent. Tobin had transferred to the training unit, eager beaver with a backstory he doled out in fragments. Small-town kid, late bloomer, finding his way in the city's embrace. "Your class has changed me," he told Alex, earnest. "Made me see myself clearer." Nate watched the exchange, jaw subtle tight, but said nothing, filing it away like a chart note. The night unwound in laughter and late hours, but dawn brought the hangover of reality. Alex's inbox overflowed. Invites to speak at conferences, hate mail from trolls dredging Derek's lies. One stood out, an email from Marcus's estranged brother, Elias, in Ohio. Saw the news. Didn't know Mark long after he left, but he mentioned you once, in a letter. Said you were the kind of brave he wished he had. Can we talk? Alex's fingers hovered, ghosts stirring. Nate, sensing the shift over breakfast, avocado toast, his ritual, set down his mug. Old wounds. Alex nodded, forwarding the thread. Family. The kind that cuts deepest. Nate read, brow furrowing. Go for it. Closure's a gift. But not alone. I'll drive if you want. The call with Elias happened on a crisp fall drive to Discovery Park, leaves crunching under tires like brittle bones. Elias's voice crackled over speaker, Midwestern flat, with undercurrents of grief. Mark was the baby, wild one, always chasing rainbows. We lost him when he came out. Dad called it a phase, but it broke us. Stories spilled. Childhood Christmases with Marcus sneaking Alex's. Wait, no, fictional sibling, dolls under the tree. The day he packed a bag and vanished for Seattle. He sent postcards at first, then nothing. That ring? Mom's, before she passed. Said it was his anchor. Alex gripped the wheel, tears blurring the trailhead. He died holding on to truth. About Derek, about everything. Elias paused, breath hitching. Thank you for giving him a voice. And, if you're ever east, doors open. The line went dead, leaving silence thick as fog. Nate waited at the overlook, hands in pockets, wind tousling his curls. How'd it land? Alex leaned against him, the sound sprawling below like a promise. Heavy but lighter after. They hiked then, paths winding through madronas and ferns, conversation meandering from Marcus to dreams unspoken. Kids, maybe, a surrogacy chat with Lena's wife in the works. I'd be the fun dad, Nate joked, skipping stones into a creek. You'd be the one teaching them to save the world. Laughter bubbled, easing the ache, but as they crested a ridge, Alex's phone vibrated. Dispatch, off-duty tone urgent. Rivera? Non-emergency consult. That Belltown follow-up? Kai's got leads on Derek's network. Needs your ear. The consult turned into a task force. Reyes pulling strings for a joint op with PD, raiding a safe house in Fremont where whispers said Derek's cronies fenced stolen goods, rings among them. Alex volunteered as liaison, heart pounding at the irony, trading stethoscope for strategy sessions in windowless rooms smelling of marker fumes. Tobin shone there, mapping connections with a tech-savvy flair that impressed even the cynics. Kids got potential. Jamie grunted over lukewarm pizza, but his eyes on Alex held a warning. Watch the sparks. Nate, briefed over wine that night, voiced it plainly. Tobin's got a crush. Puppy dog obvious. Alex chuckled, but unease stirred. Boundary lines, babe. I'm yours. Nate's kiss was fierce, claiming, but doubt's whisper persisted. Was fidelity tested in glances, or only in actions? The raid went down at midnight, a symphony of flashbangs and shouts. Alex in the van monitoring comms, pulse racing like old times. Success. 3 arrests, a duffel of jewelry including a telltale band. Marcus's ring, engraved MH forever. Kai identified it the next day, tears falling like rain. He'd want this back with family. Elias flew out for the handover, a quiet ceremony at the center, ring placed in a velvet box beside Marcus's photo. Brother to brother, Elias said, clasping Alex's hand. You gave us peace. The moment broke something in Alex, not with sorrow, but release, a chapter closing with gentle finality. But peace was fleeting. Back home, Nate's ex, Jordan, surfaced like a bad sequel. Email first, then a chance encounter at the hospital gala, all polished charm and lingering touches on Nate's arm. Missed you, Kel. Heard about the drama. Hero stuff suits you. Nate brushed it off, but Alex saw the flinch, the old pull of familiarity. That night, insecurities clashed. He's circling because he smells weakness. Alex accused, voice raw. Nate fired back, or because I shine on my own. Trust isn't a leash. The argument escalated, words like shrapnel, controlling, distant, never enough. Doors slammed, silence reigned, and for the first time, Alex wondered if love's fire had banked too low. Riley, sensing the fracture, invited Alex to the studio, a loft in Pioneer Square, canvases leaning like sentries. "Paint with me," they urged, handing a brush slick with ultramarine. No words needed. Strokes became therapy, blues bleeding into grays, then golds. Hours later, sweat-slick and spent, Alex confessed the rift. "We're good, but cracked." Riley nodded, wiping hands on overalls. "Cracks let light in. Question is, do you mend or mosaic?" The metaphor stuck. A lifeline as Alex drove home to find Nate asleep on the couch, a note on his chest. "Fight for us. Always." Reconciliation brewed slow, over walks in Green Lake, apologies layered like lacquer. "Jordan's past, you're now," Nate vowed, lacing fingers. "And Tobin's just admiring from afar." Alex laughed, relief flooding. "Admiring's free. You? Priceless." They recommitted with a vow renewal of sorts. Backyard. Theo presiding again, wildflowers and witnesses. Love, they learned, was iterative, a draft revised through edits and erasures. Yet the world intruded. A new case mirrored the old. Elderly queer couple in Magnolia. One poisoned, the survivor fingering a neighbor's grudge. Bible thumper next door, always preaching fire. Alex consulted, patterns emerging. Derek's network splintering, but hatred's roots ran deep. With Tobin and Jamie, he traced it to a fringe group, meetings in church basements spewing venom online. The bust was cleaner this time, evidence ironclad, but the victim's last words echoed Marcus. "Tell them we mattered." In the afterglow, Alex's program expanded, grants flowing for nationwide rollout. Harlan even endorsed it, a gruff testimonial at the launch. Nate cut back hours, prioritizing them. Dinners by candlelight, lazy Sundays tangled in sheets. Riley's next show featured their mosaic, a couple pieced from shards, radiant. And when adoption papers arrived, signed and sealed, Alex held Nate's hand, tears of joy. "Our family," he whispered. Marcus's ring, returned to Elias, symbolized more than loss. It was legacy, a circle unbroken. In Seattle's endless drizzle, Alex Rivera had found not just survival, but sovereignty over his heart, his home, his hard-won happily ever after. Adoption day dawned with a nervousness that hummed like high-voltage wire. The agency office in Ballard, a sterile box of forms and finger paint stains on the walls. Alex fidgeted with his tie. Nate's idea looked the part of responsible dads, while Nate bounced their soon-to-be son, little Jamie, after the partner, not the jam, on his knee. At 3, the boy was a whirlwind of brown curls and boundless curiosity, rescued from a foster shuffle after his birth mom's overdose. "Dad-eye up," he demanded, pudgy arms outstretched, and Alex scooped him, heart melting under the weight. The social worker smiled, stamping finals. "He's lucky. You both are." Outside, under a sky-threatening rain, they buckled him into the car seat, Nate's hand lingering on Alex's thigh. Team, Rivera Keller. Official. Parenthood rewired them overnight, a crash course in diapers and dawn feedings that left no room for old fractures. Nights blurred into tag-team exhaustion, but joy threaded through. Jamie's first steps across their living room, giggling as he toppled into cushions. Story time with Nate's dramatic voices for where the wild things are. Alex's work adapted too. Mornings at the center, evenings as dad, the balance a tightrope walked with grace. Tobin, now a full-fledged EMT, dropped by for playdates. His crush evolved into brotherly banter, sharing tips on kid-proofing rigs. "You're naturals," he said, tossing Jamie in the air, earning squeals. Nate watched with easy pride. The triangle dissolved into alliance. But equilibrium shifted with a letter from prison. Derek Hale, parole hearing pending, requesting a meeting. Victim impact statement. The enclosed form read, but Alex smelled manipulation, a final twist of the knife. Nate vetoed it instantly. "Hell no. He's poison." Yet sleep evaded Alex, Marcus's face superimposing on Jamie's innocent one. "What if he walks? What then?" Nate pulled him close, heartbeat steady. "Then we protect our own. Like always." Still, Alex penned the statement, words pouring like catharsis. "You took a life, but you couldn't take his light. Or mine." Scent, it lingered like a talisman. The hearing loomed, a gray November day in a courthouse reeking of polished wood and despair. Alex testified via video link, Jamie napping in a carrier at his feet, Nate's presence a silent fort. Derek appeared on screen, gaunt and graying, eyes hollowed by years. I loved him, he rasped, voice cracking. Twisted, yeah, but real. You judged us. Alex leaned in, unflinching. Love doesn't bruise. It builds. You destroyed. The board denied parole, citing the network, the attempts, but Derek's parting shot chilled. Tell your boy to watch the shadows. Empty threat, but it burrowed. Winter wrapped Seattle in tinsel and chill, holidays a mosaic of chosen family. Lena hosted, her wife grilling turkey while Theo led carols with off-key gusto. Riley gifted portraits, Jamie as a tiny Max, wild rumpus ready. Elias joined via Zoom, toasting from Ohio with eggnog. Uncle Mark would have loved this chaos. Laughter flowed, but as snow dusted the windows, Alex caught Nate staring, wistful. What's brewing? Nate hesitated, then spilled. My folks sent a card. First in years. Asking about the kid. Alex's chest tightened. Nate's family, conservative Catholics in Spokane, had frozen him out post coming out, therapy threats echoing. Want me there? Nate nodded, vulnerable. Back up. The drive east was a study in contrasts, city grit to rolling wheat fields, rain to frost. Nate's childhood home loomed, a rancher with icicles like fangs. His parents waited on the porch, faces lined with regret, hands tentative. Nathaniel, his mom whispered, then Nate, correcting with a smile. Dinner was awkward ballet, small talk over pie, Jamie's babble the icebreaker. He's beautiful, his dad grunted, passing potatoes. Then, halting, we were wrong. About you. About everything. Nate's eyes glistened, Alex's hand under the table a lifeline. Forgiveness wasn't instant, but it cracked the door, a start. Spring thawed more than ground. Alex's program hit national news, a segment on 60 Minutes framing him as the paramedic who saved himself to save others. Offers poured in, keynotes, books, but he winnowed to essence, training pods in rural spots, where queer isolation bred silence. One trip to Montana, Nate and Jamie in tow, proved pivotal. A small town hall, farmers and firefighters nodding as Alex shared Marcus's story, anonymized but potent. Post-talk, a burly vet pulled him aside. My boys like you. Thanks for the words. Tears unshed, hands shaken, change rippling outward. Home. The garden bloomed under Jamie's help, muddy hands in soil, planting sunflowers that stretched toward sun. Riley coaxed Alex into art therapy for the center, sessions where survivors painted their scars, colors defiant. One evening, brush in hand, Alex rendered Nate and Jamie as anchors, blues deep as sound. That's us, Nate said, peering over his shoulder, kissing his neck. Intimacy reignited, parenthood's fire stoking deeper flames. Nights when Jamie slept, they rediscovered rhythms, bodies' maps redrawn with care. Yet conflict brewed anew, subtle as summer haze. Tobin confessed over beers at the pub, post-shift unwind, Jamie with a sitter. It's you, Alex. Always has been. Not a crush, more. The air thickened, Alex's beer turning sour. Tob, your family. But my heart's mapped. Nate, Jamie, end of line. Tobin's face crumpled, then hardened. Lucky man. He left abruptly, the doors swinging like a guillotine. Nate, brief later, paced. Boundaries, yeah, but. Did he push? Alex shook his head, guilt gnawing. Just truth. Hurts anyway. The ripple hit work. Tobin transferred units. Comms clipped, eyes averted. Jamie the partner noticed, cornering Alex in the bay. Kid's hurting. Give him space, but don't ghost. Queer world small. Advice taken. A note slipped into Tobin's locker. Doors open, man. No judgments. Response came slow. A text, emoji thumbs up, but mending began, awkward coffees evolving to easy talks. Thanks for not hating me. Tobin said finally, over park benches and dog walkers. Hates the killer, Alex replied. We choose better. Summer peaked with a crisis. Heat waves straining the grid. Overdoses spiking in tent cities along the waterfront. Alex volunteered, Nate too, triaging under pop-up tents that baked like ovens. One call, a teen, non-binary, pulse thready from bad fentanyl. Hit home, Jamie's age in a decade. Stay with me, Alex urged, Nate intubating seamless as breath. Saved, the kid, River, they chose, joined group later, sketching with Riley's guidance. You guys, you're why I fight now. Fall brought harvest, the center's annual gala, Alex emceeing, Nate DJing a mix of indie and old-school disco. Harlan showed, suit crisp, toasting the future I almost missed. Laughter roared, but midway, a call pulled Alex aside. Elias, voice breaking. Found Mark's journal. Pages for you. Mailed overnight. It arrived dog-eared. Entries in Marcus's scrawl. Dreams of escape. Love's poison with Derek. Hope in fleeting connections. One passage gutted. Met a guy at the bar. Eyes like emeralds, uniform sharp. Didn't talk much, but he saw me. Wish I had his guts. Alex wept then, Nate holding him on the kitchen floor, Jamie's blocks scattered like stars. He saw you too, Nate whispered. The journal sparked a podcast. Alex's voice, anonymous voices, weaving stories of survival. Listeners flooded in, tips leading to interventions. A saved life in Boise, a network busted in Portland. Jamie grew, words tumbling, dadass save. And Alex knelt, honest. We all do, buddy. Together. Winter circled back, holidays warmer with Nate's folks driving west, grandparents tentative but trying, spoiling Jamie with blocks and books. New Year's, under fireworks blooming over the needle, Alex pulled Nate close. To us, unbreakable. Nate grinned, kissing him deep. Mosaic strong. Marcus's light endured, not in vengeance, but volume. Louder loves, braver bonds. In the city's pulse, Alex Rivera thrived, a heart mended, a family forged, ready for whatever dawn broke next. The podcast took off like a rogue wave, episodes dropping bi-weekly from a makeshift studio in their basement. Cushions for soundproofing, Jamie's toys banished to crates. Alex hosted with raw honesty, guests ranging from survivors like Kai to experts unpacking the psychology of denial in abusive queer relationships. It's not weakness, he'd say, voice steady over mics. It's survival wiring gone haywire. Nate produced behind the scenes, editing late into nights, his surgeon's precision honing narratives to gut-punch clarity. Listeners rode in droves. Your voice saved my marriage, one said. Heard Mark's echo in my silence. Got out today, another. Impact rippled, but fame's underbelly lurked. Trolls doxing, threats veiled as concern. One message chilled deeper. Anonymous, timestamped from a VPN, Derek sends regards. Your boy's cute, easy target. Attached, a blurry photo of Jamie at the park, swing mid-arc. Alex's blood froze, Nate's face ashen when shown. Police, he said, dialing with hands that shook. PD classified it stalking, tying to Derek's dwindling circle, parole denial fueling vendettas. Protection kicked in, escorts to daycare, cameras on the porch. Jamie sensed the shift, clingier, questions bubbling. Bad guys, dada? Alex knelt, truthful but tender. Some, but good guys win. Always. The siege strained them, arguments flaring over vigilance. Nate pushing full lockdown, Alex craving normalcy. We're prisoners in our home, he snapped one evening, pacing the kitchen as rain lashed panes. Nate, exhausted from a marathon shift, fired back. Better caged than coffins. Words hung, regret swift. They collapsed on the couch, Jamie asleep upstairs, Nate's head on Alex's chest. Scared, Nate admitted, voice small. Losing you. Him. Undoes me. Alex stroked his hair, vows renewing in murmurs. Won't happen. We're steel. Riley rallied the troops, organizing a security workshop at the center, self-defense for families. Tobin leading demos with padded gloves and gruff encouragement. Hit hard, run fast. He barked, Jamie giggling as Lena play-sparred. Post-session, beers at a quiet brew pub, the group decompressed, Theo plotting legal angles, Elias chiming in from afar with PI tips. Hire this guy. Ex-cop, queer as they come. The net tightened, traces leading to a lowlife named Vance, Derek's cousin, holed up in a Tacoma motel with a rap sheet longer than a fire hose. The sting op was poetry in motion. PD swarming at dawn, Vance cuffed in boxers, laptop yielding chats. plots hatched in digital shadows. Rivera thinks he's safe? Kidnapping scares M straight. One read. Evidence damning. Vance flipped for leniency. Derek implicated in orchestration from his cell. The warden investigated, privileges revoked, a black mark sealing his cage. Relief washed over Alex like baptism. The photo burned in a backyard fire pit, ashes scattered to wind. Over, he breathed to Nate that night. Bodies entwining under sheets, celebration slow and sacred. Spring unfurled with renewal, Jamie's preschool graduation a milestone of finger paints and tiny mortarboards. Nate's parents attended, thawing further, his mom baking empanadas from Alex's recipes, Dad pushing Jamie on swings with shy grins. Family's what you make, he grunted, echoing unspoken amends. Alex's sister called too, thawing from Texas frost, saw the pod. Mom's listening, secretly. Progress. Baby steps, but strides. Work evolved. The podcast spawned a nonprofit, Echo Voices, funding hotlines and trainings in underserved spots. A tour beckoned, Chicago, Atlanta, LA, Alex keynoting, Nate tag along with Jamie in backpack carrier. First stop, a community college auditorium, faces diverse and hungry. Prejudice isn't just strangers, Alex said, slides flickering Marcus's anonymized story. It's the partner who controls, the colleague who whispers. But love? That's the revolution. Q&A stretched long, a young man rising. I'm the EMT. Gay small town. Your words. They armor me. Handshakes, hugs, change tactile. Mid-tour, in a New Orleans jazz club, post-talk unwind, beignet dusting laps. Nate proposed expansion. Book deal? Or doc? Let's amplify. Alex grinned, jazz horns wailing backdrop. Both. And a family trip. Disney, kid's dream. Jamie, oblivious on a stool with crayons, beamed at mentions. But hotel nights whispered doubts. Am I enough? Alex asked once, post-lovemaking glow fading. Nate traced his tattoos. EMT wings inked over a faded scar. More than. You're the why. Return brought grounding. Garden overgrown, sunflower seeding. Lena announced pregnancy. Your godkid. Rivera, no escaping. Theo planning a queer-lit fest. Tobin dated steady, a barista with tattoos matching his, confiding over coffee runs. Thanks for the nudge, he said. Boundaries make better loves. Summer scorched, but a cool front arrived with crisis. Wildfires edging Olympic Peninsula, evacuations clogging lines. Alex deployed with a response team, choppering supplies, Nate coordinating medevac. Amid ash-choked skies, they saved a cabin-bound elder. Lesbian pioneer, stories of Stonewall spilling as oxygen masked. You kids carry the torch, she wheezed, hand frail in Alex's. Evac's safe, her words fueled the weary. Fall harvest yielded fruit. Echo Voices' first grant cycle, funds to 10 orgs. Galleredux, bigger, celebrities, donors, Jamie stealing show in tiny tucks. Harlan keynote, voice cracking. I was the villain once. Now, ally. Applause thundered, redemption arc complete. But twists lingered. A listener's tip, undiscovered tape from Marcus's phone, buried in evidence lockers. Retrieved, it played in Rhea's office. Marcus confronting Derek, ring glinting. This ends, or I tell. Struggle sounds, then silence. Closure crystalline, handed to Elias for a memorial plaque at the center. Marcus hail, voice eternal. Winter whispered peace, holidays a hearth glow affair. New Year's Eve, rooftop with friends, Jamie fizzing sparklers under supervision. Nate pulled Alex aside, ringbox velvet. Not proposal, promise. 10 years from now, still us. Alex's yes was tear-choked, kiss fireworks true. Parenthood deepened, Jamie's questions probing. Why rainbows, Dada? Alex knelt, colors vivid. For love, all kinds. Yours included. Echoes of Marcus in every tale, a legacy living loud. In Seattle's symphony, sirens, rains, hearts beating, Alex Rivera orchestrated his verse. Love's drama, prejudice's defeat, twists turned triumphs. Family, fierce and full, his forever plot. The promise ring caught street lamp glow as they wandered home. Jamie dozing on Alex's shoulder, Nate's arm a steady loop around his waist. 10 years, a horizon, not endpoint, felt audacious after storms weathered. But audacity suited them, woven into the fabric of survival. Back inside, tucking Jamie to bed with goodnight moon, Alex lingered, watching chest rise fall, tiny fist clutching blanket. Our miracle, Nate whispered from the door, pulling him to their room. Sheets tangled, they mapped futures, expanding echo voices to schools, maybe a second kid via surrogacy. Sleep claimed them entwined, dreams untroubled. Dawn's light filtered through blinds, coffee brewing autopilot. Alex checked emails, one flagging. Invite to TED stage, the hidden pulse, saving lives in the margins. Heart stuttered, global reach, his story amplified. Nate peeked over, mug steaming. Do it. World needs your fire. Prep consumed months. Outlines scribbled on napkins. Rehearsals in the mirror with Jamie as audience, clapping wildly. Tobin beta-tested slides, now a mentor in his own right. Nail it, he texted post-run-through. Proud. The conference in Vancouver, ferry ride across border, Jamie with Lena for Annie weekend, was electric, Alex pacing green room, palms slick. Stage lights blinded, but the red dot on podium steadied him. We respond to calls, he began, voice carrying. But some emergencies are silent, prejudices that bleed slow. Slides cued, anonymized stats, Marcus's ring as metaphor. Laughter at quips, gasps at truths, applause crashing like waves. Q&A, a trans doc from Toronto. How do we heal the healers? Alex paused, honest. By leaning, on loves, on lines drawn in community. Ovation lingered, handshakes to hugs. Return was heroes welcome. Airport pickup with banners, Jamie's crayon dada rocks. Media buzzed, book agents circling. Nate cooked paella, his Spanish grandma's secret, friends toasting over wine. Global now, Theo crowed. Wall coming down. But buzz brought barbs. Op-eds questioning, agenda pushing, old trolls revived. Alex armored with routine. Park runs with Jamie, date nights at Ivers, overlooking the water's whisper. Summer swelled with expansion. Echo Voices app launch. AI flagged resources for at-risk users. Beta tested in Seattle, it pinged first save. A teen routing to shelter via geofence. Tech Heart, Nate dubbed it, coding tweaks in spare hours. Family trip to Disneyland materialized. Jamie wide-eyed at mouse ears. Alex and Nate stealing kisses on Splash Mountain. Magic, Jamie declared, cotton candy stuck. Our kind, Alex agreed. Nate's wink conspiratorial. Falls turning brought test. Nate's promotion to chief resident. Hours ballooning. Absences echoing old riffs. Go time, he said over hurried breakfasts, kissing Jamie's crown. Strain showed. Missed soccer, forgotten laundry. But Alex breathed through, channeling podcast wisdom. Communications the vein. Weekly check-ins instituted. No phones dinners enforced. We're good, Nate affirmed one night. Feet in lap post-bedtime. Better for the stretch. Winter's grip loosened with news. Surrogacy match. A friend of friend carrying their second. Ultrasounds became rituals. Jamie pressing ear to belly. Sissy coming? Gender unknown, but love preloaded. Elias visited. Journal in tow for readings. Marcus's words to Jamie. Tales of adventure. Uncle stories, Elias said, voice thick. Harlan tagged along, surprising with wood-carved toys, gruff uncle in training. Spring bloomed scandal-free, but a cold case resurfaced. Unsolved bashing from 18, victim's partner fingering a cop cover-up. Alex consulted, podcast episode greenlit. Digs unearthed rot. Harlan's era, whispers of don't ask policies. Confrontation in a diner, Harlan's coffee cooling. Knew about it, he admitted, eyes down. Looked away. Shame's my scar. Confession taped, aired, catharsis communal, reforms mandated. Summer's heat peaked with app's national rollout. Saves ticking up. Hotline calls diverted, lives rerouted. TED clip viral. Invites flooding. UN panel, White House briefing. Alex selective, prioritizing heartland. One stop, rural Kansas, a firehouse full of wary faces. Y'all think this don't touch you? He challenged gently. Stories cracked open, sons hidden, colleagues closeted. Hands raised post-talk. How start? One conversation, Alex said. Then two. Fall harvest. Baby girl arrived, Rosa, after Alex's abuela, tiny fists waving. Nate cried first, scalpel steady hands cradling. Jamie bossed instantly. My sissy. Family quartet complete, chaos calibrated. Riley painted christening portrait, non-religious but sacred, for figures in light. Winter's solstice gala capped year, echo voices milestone, thousands touched. Keynote duet, Alex and Nate, weaving personal to universal. Loves the protocol, Nate quipped. Laughter, tears, toasts. New Year's, balcony perch, Rosa swaddled, Jamie fizzing. Resolutions? Nate asked. More us, Alex said, ring glinting. Always. Years folded forward. Jamie's school plays, Rosa's first words, save dada. Echoing legacy. Tobin wed, best man Alex. Lena's kid, Theo's fest, tapestry rich. Marcus's plaque gleamed at center, touched daily. In quiet, Alex whispered thanks. Life's plot, suspense to serenity, prejudices pierced, love's layered deep. Seattle's heart beat on, Alex Rivera's verse etched eternal. Gate EMT, accused then absolved, killer unmasked, family his finale triumphant.